What? It's another art video! If this is your first time watching me, hi, my name is Zelda. I'm a freelance illustrator and a comic artist. You can find out more about me and my artworks on my website, zeldacw.com. Now, just like my previous art tip video, this one is also gonna be a one take, no edit, and very little planning. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it'll be helpful. Now, as suggested by my patrons, we are going to do hair. How I draw hair. I'll show you how I draw hair. Let me share with you how I draw hair. Now I got some sketches done already. Let me quickly go over it. When we draw hair, we want to... Well, I would pay attention to the hairline. I sometimes forget, and it might result in very wide forehead or receding hairline. So sometimes it's good to pay attention to this hairline, especially if you're drawing hairstyle that's pulled back, like into a hair bun or a ponytail, and the front is revealing this line here. Definitely want to pay attention to that line. If your eyebrow is here, now this might be a little low actually. Let's fix this. Eyebrow here. The line should be here. Sometimes it's a letter M shape, sometimes it's just flat. So it's really up to you how you want to draw your character. You can have a slight curve to it. So yeah, one suggestion, one tip will be pay attention to the hairline. And another thing is, don't forget the size or the shape of the skull. Imagine, you don't have to draw it out, but keep it in your mind. Kind of imagine the skull. And the head. And then the hair will be a little bit bigger than the skull because of the volume of the hair. So it's kind of like a little helmet, if that's easier to remember. So you probably don't want to draw. You don't want to draw the head. You probably want to avoid drawing the head, and then the hair is right the same size as the head. Probably not. It'll look a bit odd. Make it a little bit thicker, bigger, a little bit bigger than the skull. And don't forget, there's a little bit hair right here. A lot of times this part is covered up so you don't see it. But this area in front of the ear, there's a little bit hair here. Don't forget this hair. If it's tucked back behind the ear, there's still a little bit hair here, okay? It will look very odd if you have no hair here and just suddenly go back to the ear. Even if you shaved everything off, there's still a little bit to make it look more natural. Okay, actually, I wanted to talk about how to draw hair by starting with basic shapes. I have this little example here to show that you don't always have to keep the hair volume realistic. Some artists, they draw very poofy hair and it looks really cute, like this hairstyle. One iconic mangaka who does this poofy hairstyle would be Takahashi Yumiko, the maker of Ranma and Inuyasha. You can probably tell she does very poofy hair. So that's one example. Now, how do we draw complicated looking hairstyle, breaking it down to simple shapes? Let's start by imagining a center point, like the swirly spot where the hair grow out from. Let's imagine it there, this pink spot. And then let's sketch out the hair. What kind of hairstyle do we want? Let's do a slightly spiky or styled hair. Ikemen hair. Pretty boy hair. You don't always have to draw out the line that goes from the center spot to the end. Kind of imagine in your head, but you only really need to draw the tips. You can really leave this part blank, but imagine it to have the curve look neat, because otherwise the curves, the lines, the hair will go everywhere. It might look messy. So it can go different directions. It might look messy, but at least as long as it is leading back to this center point, then it's all good. So you want to kind of eyeball this spot, and then you can use little lines to fill the rest, like this side. There we have Ikemen hair, or pretty boy hair. One practice. Now we can practice one more time. I have another example here to show you the swirly spot is rather important, so that I can see the hair, all the lines. You either go out or in. This way it looks more neat, not messy. It could be a messy hair, but it doesn't look like the hair is going random places. Let me draw an example. If without that spot, if we don't draw with that spot, if I'm just drawing hair as how I want, maybe this here, I want this hair here, and then I want this hair here, and then I want the hair here. It could still work, but it's just might be messy in a weird way that you can't explain why it looks kind of off. Like there's a big bunch of hair going this way and then a bunch of hair going this way. So yeah, having one center spot, swirly spot will help. And you can place it in different spot on the head. Some people have it towards the back, some people have it more in the center on the top, and it'll affect how you draw the hair. So try that out. You can practice. If it's on the back, the hair will go this way like this. If it's on the top, the hair goes down like this. And this is an example of how to draw curly hair. We'll do a quick demo. Imagine hair, this curly hair, imagine it like curled up paper might be easier to imagine. Like a piece of paper, you curl it up. If the paper has different color on two sides, that might help. You'll be able to see. Ignore that. You'll be able to see the inside, outside, and this is pretty much the basic shape of it. Of course, you can make it more like hair, more natural, by adding more strands of hair like this. Break them apart, add lines. So that's how I draw curls. Soften the edges so it's not so sharp. That's one way to draw curls. Now you can have bigger curls. When it's bigger, you can really have fun with it by imagine drawing swirls. Towards the end, it's gonna be smaller and smaller, like this. And it's similar to the curled up paper idea. This is inside. Inside, let's shade the inside. Sorry, I have to cough. Still recovering from my bronchitis. So excuse me if I randomly mute myself. I'm just coughing. So yeah, this is another example of how I draw curly hair curls. Alright, Now another example of, oh, this is a quick example of how I color a different way. This is more painterly coloring style, and this is color with the line still visible, but I did it really quickly, so it's kind of messy. But here you can see the lines better. So this way you still preserve the lines. You'd want to make it more neat. I drew it messy just as a quick demo. So this style is color with the line still preserved, and this style is more painterly. You don't need the line. If you're doing this kind of painterly style, you don't need to draw all those lines. You can just start out with a general shape of the curl, maybe kind of like this, and then you can start painting, coloring it. Save yourself some time, because you'd be doing the curl with the paint anyway. So yeah, that's my suggestion. This here is an example of wet hair. My patron asked me how to draw wet hair. When you draw wet hair, you wanna make it look heavy, weighted down, and sticks to the face. Because when it's wet, it sticks to the skin. So no more poofy looking hair. Everything is... This is the time you can keep it very close to the skull, to the size of the skull, so don't need to make it super poofy now, like this. So we can go straight down and a little bit wavy. Let me make a new example. So we have a head here. Now if the skull was here, this big, the hair, let's do blue. Still kind of imagine keeping in mind of the center line or the center swirly spot. Have the hair come out from the same spot or line. Depends on how much volume your character's hair has. If it's very thick hair, then it might still be kind of big. But if they have thin hair, then it could be very flat looking. Imagine the hairline and come down straight down from the hairline. Just go down. A little bit wavy because it's sticking to the face. And maybe a little bit messy. Might stick to the neck. Then you can add a little bit water drops maybe to the tip of the hair or the side of the hair. Okay, so wet hair. Now if this hair was dry, it would look like this. First of all, the hair over here at the hairline, on the forehead, it would puff up a little bit so it doesn't go straight down. Now let's draw, imagine a hairline here. Over here we go straight down because it's wet. But here, for the dry version, we want to make it go up a little bit first, like this. So it goes up a little bit. And then come back down. Still have the same center line. Center line. Might look like this. Okay, so the difference between dry and wet. Quick example. Alright, what else? Did I cover everything? Oh, this little example here, I was thinking of showing how different ways, your personal preference, different art style. Some people prefer drawing out every strand of hair. Well, not every strand of hair. You know what I mean. Like drawing more lines on the hair. That's an art style. That's a style. You can definitely do that if you like. But some styles, we just show the hair as big shapes. It could be like this. I'm gonna put different style on the same head. So instead of drawing a lot of lines, you can break them into parts, sections. I think I'll tie it into two little pigtails. One side is with the sections, one side is with the lines. Let's draw a new one. Down here. So, center line. Still imagine a center line, keep it kind of neat looking. Now if we tie up the hair, here and here, you want to have the hair lead to that spot. Always start, it'd be nice to start out with big sections. Hairline, we imagine the hairline. You don't have to really sketch it out if you know where they are. I'm sketching it out so you can see. Front section of the hair. Side. We're drawing a cute girl. Let's draw a cute girl. Big sections. Alright. Now you can draw out the lines like this. Or we can leave them as big sections and just color it in later on. So the right side will do the lines. And if you are a new artist starting out, you can experiment with different style and see what you like better. So yeah, definitely try different ways of drawing. This would be good for maybe black and white illustrations or black and white like manga, comic style. For the left side with the big shapes, it'd be good for animation, cell shading, or flat coloring, digital art style maybe? Cause you have big area to just fill in color. For example, let's just fill in color. And yeah, so you can tell the different style. You can have different way of coloring. For this side, you can also fill in color, and then you probably don't need to do much highlight or shading because you already have a lot of lines happening. Anyway, that's also a personal preference, different art style. Now let me demonstrate how to draw a hair bun, like the Oriental, ancient Asian hairstyle. You wanna sketch out the head first. Again, imagine the hairline would help a lot. Okay, since there is forehead, nose, eyebrow here, the hairline is usually a little bit close to the end of the eyebrow, so I can kinda sketch it out like this. For the detail on where exactly the hairline is, you can use reference pictures or do in real life study, look at real people. Okay, now we have our hairline. We can draw the hair a little bit bigger than the skull, like I mentioned earlier. Tied up in a bun. Now usually pull up the hair from here, so you can draw the line like this. Now this is more accurate hairstyle for ancient Chinese. But for the more fantasy or 仙侠 or modern interpretation, for the aesthetic, people like to draw the hair half up only, so we have hair in the back like this flowing down, and probably hair here too flowing, sometimes even hair here. Which is not historically accurate, but looks pretty. Sorry, excuse me, had to cough. So yeah, that's how we draw a hair bun. Alright. I hope that was helpful. Did I cover everything? Curly hair, different art style, wet hair. How about we go over just one last time on how to do simple shapes from simple shape? Let me show you the shapes of this one. For this one, see how the shapes are like this? You're kind of covering the skull with pieces of paper, pretty much. Imagine you're covering the skull with, covering the head with paper. We say paper because it's easier to imagine the flat pieces of paper, but they are actually a little bit poofier than just paper. They're not totally flat. But if you layer enough, if you put a lot of layers of paper, then it looks like one layer, two layer, you know. Layer them up. Gives the hair volume if we do this. Or sometimes if it's not hair, you can just imagine poofy, I don't know, poofy cotton ball. If it's big poofy hair, for example, like this one. If you have a more stylized cartoon style, could be very poofy. Yeah. Or if you want something more soft and flowy, I would suggest always imagine the center spot, or at least the center line where the hair come out from, grow out from. And then this way, no matter how strong the wind blows or how messy the hair looks, it still follow the right form. So here's my center line, right? Having that center line or spot is rather important. I think for long hair you can probably want to use center line more. For short hair, short spiky hair, or just short hair in general, you might want to use the single spot. Back of the head. So yeah, if it's shorter hair, you might want to use a spot. Come out from the same spot. One more quick example. Oh, I didn't go over how to draw braids. Should we go over how to draw braids? Get rid of that spot. Hey. For braids, first, I feel like we probably would be better to imagine the overall shape of the hair. For example, I imagine the character to be looking like this. Maybe hair blowing that way. Now this is the braid. This is where I want to put my braid, this part. Sketch out the big curve first. And then lightly sketch out a center line. And you put the braid on that line. Now the braid is gonna turn in space, so like over here it should be flat. So over here you don't always see both sides of the braid. Over here you will only see one side and a little bit of the other side. And then turning back this way again so we see both sides. Maybe curly at the end, like this. Now Clip Studio has a good liquify tool, so if it looks kind of stiff, you can just push it like this to make the curve look good. Hehe. Now this is a rough sketch. If you think it looks good, then you can go over it, make it look better, or make it look more neat. Sometimes I feel like less detail is better, but that's also personal preference. Sometimes we can do suggested detail with shading, so there's no need to draw out every single line. It actually looks more natural like that. Sometimes if you draw out too much detail, the drawing might look too stiff. And we can have some other hair flowing next to it, like this. Alright, that's a demo for braids. I think I covered everything. Short hair, long hair, wet hair, braid, spiky hair, curly hair, straight hair, Ikemen hair, poofy hair, cartoony hair. I hope that was helpful. We have an empty spot here. What to do? One last practice. Maybe practice with me. can use this video as a draw along, since I'm doing no edit, non speed up video. This is our real time, so you can draw along with me. Okay, we have a head. A different hairstyle. This is the last one. We can be creative and draw a random hairstyle. How about we tie up this side? Okay, imagine the spot where it's tied up. In my head, I'm just imagining where I want it to be, so I'm not drawing out any guidelines. But I'm gonna show you. I think I want to tie it up here, so I am drawing the line from the invisible hairline that I have in my mind. I draw from here to here, here to here. This is similar to draping fabric, similar concept. So you imagine the hair go back and be tied up or pinned here at this spot. A little bit loose hair down here. I may be into a bun. Now the other side, I am imagining maybe invisible hairline again. Maybe something like this. Curve down. Let's make it balanced. Curve down. How about the bun? The bun. How about double bun? Maybe a slightly fancy hairstyle. Maybe we can have pretty hair clips or a bow, ribbons, decorate. Wait. I don't want to change this part. So yeah, you can also do whatever you want with your character. Now don't forget the back. There should be a little bit hair showing behind the neck, behind the ears. Unless you use a lot of hair gel or stuff like that to make it completely flat. But usually we wouldn't use a bunch of hair gel. I mean, most hairstyle that we draw aren't that kind of hairstyle. If we have that kind of hairstyle, then yeah, it would be like this. Where you use the product to make it very smooth and slick. Like no loose strands of hair. It might look similar to wet hair because it's all stuck together. But yeah, this would be styled or hair gel. Now for this, unless you're shading it all in solid color, if you're drawing the lines, you gotta pay attention to the direction of the hair. Okay, so this is styled with hair gel or something. No loose strand of hair. Alright, I think that's enough for today's video. I hope that was helpful. Now have fun practice drawing hair. Again, hi, my name is Zelda. I hope to see you next time in our next How I Draw Art Tip video. I will be posting one new art tip video every month. That's what I can manage to do right now with all my workloads and stuff. I wonder what next topic will be. I don't know yet. It will be suggested by my patrons on Patreon. If you are interested, feel free to check out my Patreon. That's it for now. If you like my video, feel free to follow or subscribe or become a member. I have monthly members only doodle live streams if you're interested. Okay, that's it. Bye bye until next time. Happy practicing or have fun drawing. Wait.